Hey guys, welcome back. We have an interesting topic of discussion today. We've got some pretty intense astrology going on out there. This is likely to be a weekend of maybe some big, impactful, unexpected change. I can definitely preface the report with that statement, but let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Sunday, September 7th, 2025, we have a full moon in the sign of Pisces that is also a lunar eclipse. This is happening at 1812 Universal Time, 2:12 p.m. Eastern Time, 15 degrees of the sign of Pisces, and the polarity sign to that, Virgo. That is where our full moon is lining up. Whenever we're dealing with a full moon, it is the point of the month, each month, when the moon exactly opposes the position of the sun. Right now, we are moving through Virgo season. That means that whenever the moon entered the sign of Pisces, the oppositional sign to Virgo, and came to the exact degree where the sun is located at that point in time, that was going to be our full moon energy. This is when it's coming through. And the reason why it is an eclipse is because we're talking about the moon being in a conjunction to the north node of the moon, currently right now transiting through the sign of Pisces. Each year, whenever we have our new moons and our full moons happen in a conjunction to the position of the current transit of the nodes of the moon, that is what brings in our eclipses. That's when we move through our eclipse season. Virgo season, Pisces season, at this point in time, while the nodes of the moon transit the signs of Virgo and Pisces, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, those are our eclipse seasons, and that is where we are right now. And we have a lunar eclipse. Again, this is because the moon, the full moon, is conjuncting the north node of the moon. We're also going to have a solar eclipse with the next new moon in Pisces. That will be the sun and the moon in the conjunction, and that will be to the south node of the moon. And that's what's coming up next. That is actually going to be happening in 2 weeks, and that is what this energy right now is moving us towards, leading to, and playing into in a lot of ways. But this one right here, you guys, there's a lot of things that a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces can represent, indicate, and bring to our lives and experiences. But I feel like there is a very faded element of completion, closure, and endings that is being indicated through this particular full moon lunar eclipse activation point that is coming on Sunday. And we've got a lot to talk about in terms of just what this energy is, what the qualities and characteristics of it are, and what perhaps, we can expect to experience as we move through this energy. However, this is a unique weekend, okay? Not only do we have that full moon lunar eclipse going on, but we also, the very day before it, have another kind of like significant astrological event taking place. And I actually want to open the report and lead into my discussion of this full moon lunar eclipse by addressing exactly what it is that we've got going on Saturday the 6th, because it's like they're two peas in a pod. I think that things that happen or go on or just pop up on the 6th could somehow be directly related or catalyzing or playing into, snowballing into these perhaps faded endings that are indicated through whatever this eclipse energy is bringing. Okay, so without further ado, on Saturday the 6th, September 6th, we have Uranus, the planet ruling sudden unexpected change, the great rectifier, blessings in disguise, silver linings, the lightning striking the tower card planet, and the planet that is said to make the changes for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves for one reason or another. And in my perception, the planet that actually oftentimes disturbingly and with a great lack of comfort and care for our comfort zone generally, tends to facilitate our path to get back on some track to like where we're actually meant to be, maybe if we have consciously or unconsciously gotten ourselves off course some way along the way. So this is a planet that is associated with sudden unexpected change, shocks and surprises, and things being very, very unstable and unpredictable. Now, this planet on the 6th, on Saturday, is stationing retrograde in the sky. This is of significance because whenever a planet stations in its motion, this amplifies the energy of that particular planet. Right now, Uranus is probably one of, if not the most powerful planetary vibrations that we are interacting with and moving through, and that is because Uranus right now is in a sustained early degree air sign trine with Pluto, the planet ruling power in all of its forms. If you guys have been following along with my channel or following astrology generally, this right here is an activation point that resonates to some type of collective great awakening and paradigm shift. Why this is important in the context of this particular Pisces full moon, Pisces lunar eclipse, Pisces North Node transit that is bringing us our Pisces eclipse season. I think I described to you guys already that the reason why we have the eclipses is because the new moons and the full moons align with the nodes. Anyways, Pisces, you guys, happens to be ruled by the planet Neptune. Neptune at the moment is also retrograde in his motion, but Neptune is actually in an exact sextile, like exact sextile with Uranus, the planet that is stationing retrograde in the sky, whose energy will be amplified the day before we have this eclipse coming in the sign of Pisces that is specifically talking about coming to the end of something, some type of closure. Something's gotta go, something's gotta give, something's gotta move on. And when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so we've got this like necessary, fated, certain ending to some cycle of time that has been perpetuating for a long period of time, and we'll get more into it. This is very actually pattern based, and a lot of it, I think, is going to be quite unconscious because we're also talking about Pisces, we're talking about that which is unknown, that which is hidden, maybe even to us. Anyways, more to come on that. But the Uranian influence and emphasis right there, it's almost like some type of shock to the system that is a force that propels whatever these fated endings are to somehow come to pass. Uranus makes the changes for us we haven't been able to make for ourselves. The day before this, indication of these very, very necessary endings are being activated, are at play. And so it seems like, I don't know, on Saturday, there could be some things happening, taking place, going on, something crazy, finding something out, some random change or something taking place that then does lead into some like greater process of change or transition that comes about as of this weekend. And remember, eclipses represent like 6-month periods of time, and this is the first of 2 eclipses in our current eclipse season. So this is really only like half of the story, but like this is the initiation phase. And on Saturday, with Uranus stationing, that again, that energy being amplified, and in consideration of the fact that he is exactly in the sextile to Neptune, who is ruling the position of this moon. And not only that, he's also exactly trine Pluto. And not only that, another thing to be aware of in the energy of Saturday is that the moon transiting through the sign of Pisces, preparing to oppose the sun in Pisces. Remember, this is happening at 15 degrees. And so there's going to be a period of time leading up to that when the moon is in the sign where this energy takes place, but has not yet arrived at that opposition. That doesn't happen again until the afternoon on Sunday. Saturday, the moon is still in the sign of Pisces. It is building very strongly into this energy, but also the moon happens to form an exact square to Uranus as he's stationing. If you guys have been following my channel, or you're accustomed with how astrology works generally, then you know that the moon functions as a trigger for energetic activations. If there's a transit going on out there and the moon is also touching that energy in aspect, like making a connection, especially like a hard aspect to whatever that transit is, that is when we are likely to be like feeling it the most. The moon is our emotions, our inner world, how we are feeling and processing emotions. So the fact that the moon is going to be like in the most actually like trigger point aspect, a square exactly 90 degrees while Uranus stations, that is going to again further amplify this Uranian energy, and in a way that could be, disruptive or just very, very noticeable for one reason or another. We've got Uranus stationing on Saturday at 1 degree of the sign of Gemini. We have Pluto at that point in time at 1 degree of the sign of Aquarius, this exact air trine. Neptune, 1 degree of the sign of Aries, the exact midpoint, sextile perfectly to both Uranus and Pluto. And the moon will be at traveling through 1 degree Pisces, of the sign of, in that square to Uranus and Gemini while Uranus stations. So people like to say that people are probably going to be feeling a great need to rebel or to break away from something or to be free of something or to do something different, like that could be a pretty radical understatement. This is super wild card energy on Saturday. I would probably go ahead and like circle it on your calendar, maybe put an exclamation point there. Like there is something not normal about just the way that things are probably transpiring for one reason or another on Saturday. And again, like this is going to be coming almost like from within people, because of that lunar square that just happens to be hitting exactly at that moment in time. Uranus only stations retrograde, you guys, once a year. So it would have to be at that once yearly Uranus station retrograde that the moon would be at the exact perfect degree range to just plug it all in and make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on out there, even if they have like no real true reference for like where that awareness or that feeling is stemming from. So we need to discuss for a minute the lunar square between the moon and Uranus, especially in the signs of Pisces and Gemini. This could really bring people craving excitement, wanting to do things differently, not being able to stand like the routine structured flow of whatever it is. And it can definitely create an inner unrest that disturbs the peace within our mind also, and disturbs the peace within relations with other people. And this like sudden impulse to create some type of drastic or radical change, again, like could be coming from the inside out when we've got situations setting up like this. Now, another thing to just be mindful of, and this isn't playing a huge role, I don't think, in the overall nature of how our full moon lunar eclipse is likely to feel, but this is an energy that is ongoing, and it may offset a little bit of the less coherent energy that can come with a Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. But we have a Mars Jupiter square in cardinal signs that's also going on right now. Now, I bring this up like on the side of things because considering that on Saturday we do have this square between the moon and Uranus while Uranus stations, and this is a very, like, again, this internal need to like feel stimulated, to feel alive, to electrify our life in some type of a way, coming from like that is building internally and seeking expression outwards, making people feel very impulsive, very spontaneous, very reckless perhaps. Well, this Mars Jupiter square, of course Jupiter is this expansive force, Mars is our energy levels in the square. This could in a way maybe like feed some of the impulsivity or the like risk-taking drives that can be present and associated with already having the moon in square to Uranus while we're building into this energy that is all about being done with something, letting something go, release. So there could be some even like greater enhanced impulse or motivation to act, to charge ahead, to take a risk. And if you do find yourself in that place, I'm gonna just go ahead right now and advise maybe waiting or just making sure that you really have thought things through before spontaneously bursting into action, because this is a time of fated changes. This is a time of letting go, but we're going to have a lot more success with the outcomes of whatever it is that we are, trying to initiate if we are doing things in a just more coherent, more thought out way where we're somehow applying wisdom to our like madness, you know what I mean? Where there's a method behind the madness and we have a vision that is supported by like a proper plan to make that vision come to life. If we are just kind of recklessly flying forward and flying into things, that's when things could get a little bit more messy and the outcomes could feel a lot more out of our control. And that being said though, this is a time to release and surrender control, and we're going to be talking about that more once we get into the energy of the full moon lunar eclipse itself. But doing what we can, I think, to maybe temper some of the urges to just like make a very impulsive change, especially on Saturday. On Saturday, this moon Uranus dynamic, like that is a lunar square. The moon moves quickly. So a lot of the very impulsive changes and reactions and like spontaneous that this, that, or the other, that people just feel this like overwhelming inner urge to do or to act on or to initiate, in this energy, it's not necessarily going to be like a lingering vibe or feeling. And with that Mars Jupiter square as well, again, if the change is meant to happen, it is going to naturally happen as this eclipse comes in and we truly are kind of put in a position to need to surrender control for one reason or another. Again, eclipses are very karmic times. We do not have a real great say over what happens in the presence of energy such as we have coming in on Sunday. So, pay attention to your impulses and your feelings. Clock everything that you got going on Saturday, but if it's meant to end, if it's meant to change, that natural process is going to flow into being without you really having to do too much the very next day, most likely. And the moon square Uranus, like this can be a bit of an accident prone energy. Mars square Jupiter, that can be a bit of an accident prone energy, but generally, it functions that way in circumstances where we are getting way too ahead of ourselves and not just kind of like paying attention and doing things the way that we know that they need to be done. So something to be mindful of. Another way that this energy actually can present on Saturday is just like you are totally sitting there having a lovely day, going about your business, minding whatever you've got going on, and then all of a sudden somebody shows up in your world that just has a really crazy situation going on, or is just like totally bringing some shocking or unexpected experience, like literally delivered to you without you really even being a participant in whatever that ongoing is. So don't be surprised, or maybe do be surprised, but that is how this energy can function. Also, it's just for some reason probably going to be a bit of a strange, unusual, unexpected, otherworldly, even maybe type of experience that goes on Saturday. Now, another reason why I wanted to bring the Uranus station and what's happening on the 6th to your attention in the context of this full moon lunar eclipse is because, as I've said, Uranus is connected to Neptune, who is the ruler of the entire full moon lunar eclipse. Whenever there's a planet in a sign making an aspect, doing something important or powerful or significant, it's important to look to the ruler of that sign, because it gives us additional information about how whatever that activity is likely to be expressing itself. So with Neptune being in the exact connection to Uranus and also to Pluto, as they are in that trine together, which I already told you guys is an energy that is like facilitating some type of like greater collective conscious awakening to come online right now. Neptune as the midpoint of that is and Neptune is retrograde as well, is breaking down illusions essentially that have like defined our perception of ourselves and the world around us. More on that later. But with the Uranus station, and the very next day, this lunar eclipse full moon in the sign of Pisces going on, I think another thing that we could see in this energy kind of like just generally is people spazzing out, maybe losing it on some level, but exposing themselves, like things being revealed, things being exposed. If something has been hidden, if something has been secretive, if there have been abuses of power or authority that have been going on behind the scenes somehow, this indicates to me an inability to continue to perpetuate that illusion or that projection or that narrative. This is like the mask slipping, so to say. Things could honestly be shocking. They could be quite messy in an energetic setup like this. And the fact that the lunar eclipse full moon the very next day, it wouldn't surprise me if these endings and changes, transitions that are indicated through this full moon have to do maybe with things that are unexpectedly exposed or revealed with this Uranian energy coming through right now. I mean, think it through, game it out. We're talking about Uranus stationing in the sign of Gemini. That's the messenger planet. That's what we're thinking about. That's what we're talking about. That's what we are learning. That is information. That is what our mind is focused on. Trining Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is that which has been hidden, that the underworld, what's under the surface, what's at the root of things. It's the subconscious, it's the depth, it's the core, it's the hidden, it's the secretive. It's like what we don't know is operating in the shadows. And in the sign of Aquarius, again, Aquarius is actually ruled by Uranus. That is about this process of awakening to some greater universal truth. And so that energy, I've described it as a facilitation of this cosmic awakening, this conscious awakening that is kind of happening on a collective level right now and is indicated to be happening throughout the duration of that particular transit, and even further, as this is the energy which to me is beginning a process of rooting the incoming age of Aquarius energy into our current paradigm. That transit, I think, is activating and playing a major role in the greater paradigm shift that is underway as well, which, I feel like also this whole little full moon lunar eclipse is playing right into also whatever's ending. And we're gonna talk more about it. We've got so much more astrology to get into and deep astrology to get into in our report for today, but we're talking about like long periods of time. We're talking about like historically, we're talking about like the past. past. We're talking about like tradition and convention all the way back. We're talking about things like generational karma, legacy, dynasty and stuff like that, coming to an end, coming to a halt, losing control, surrendering power, being at a change of guard, being at a transition point. Like, we're literally talking about the like fundamental systemic beliefs and perceptions that have literally like structured our paradigm and our view of reality for extensive periods of time leading up to the current moment, and the personal disorientation that a lot of people are going through and experiencing as this past world, this past structure is in a process of breaking down, while simultaneously we are awakening in ways that we never had expected or anticipated in the past. And it's like coming to realize everything that we thought was real and had believed to be true and represented our grounding in the reality in a state of flux, breaking down, and as a result of that, these massive changes that are underway, and the input is changing. That is, I think, what this full moon eclipse is indicating on a more collective unconscious level as well, and that is also going to change the output, which again is something that is going to play right into this greater paradigm shift. So anyways, enough with the like macrocosm, greater cosmic story that's unfolding in terms of our transition into the age of Aquarius and how this energy is playing into that. Let's talk more again specifically about what we may be experiencing in this moment as we move through this. A final note on Uranus, though, I would like to add before we transition into talking about the eclipse energy specifically. Uranus is stationing at 1 degree of the sign of Gemini, which I already told you guys. In terms of the symbolic placement associated with that degree, we read the second Sabian symbol because whenever we are reading energy or degree placements, we round up a degree. We read the wave of energy that is coming in, not the wave of energy that is like outflowing and dissipating. So Uranus being at 1 degree of Gemini, we're reading 2 degrees of Gemini for the symbolic placement. That Sabian symbol is Santa Claus furtively filling stockings hanging over the fireplace. Now, just put a pin in that for a minute. Another thing that I haven't really mentioned, I've talked about it this week, but not so far in our report for today. Maybe I have mentioned it once, but not like I haven't elaborated on it yet. Jupiter, actually I definitely think I've mentioned it, but I haven't gone into a lot of detail about it yet. Jupiter, which is the planet that expands and supersizes anything that it touches, also known as the Santa Claus planet, traditionally referred to as the Great Benefic, almost exactly trine the north node of the moon, tight trine to the location of the full moon, sextile to the sun, sextile to the south node, and then making, you know, of course, these same aspects to the eclipse. Uranus, I have already also told you guys, is referred to as the silver lining planet, brings blessings in disguise, which may initially appear as some type of like a horrible hellscape that we are being forced to deal with or navigate, but like once we get down the road, once all the cards fall and all the dust settles and everything like that, and we look around and figure out what's just happened, we tend to find that things are better than they were for some reason. And even though we may not choose to ever go through that type of experience again, we also wouldn't change it because we realize that actually now we are much better off for one reason or another. And like we wouldn't have been able to get ourselves there without that extent of radical like push in that direction in the form of whatever that particular experience is. That is the Uranian vibe. That is often how Uranus makes its presence known in our lives. If you think back on your life to some scenario like that, I can almost guarantee you Uranus was touching on one of the major planets or planetary configurations in your chart. That's just how this energy operates. That's what we deal with. But again, like at the end of the day, it often is some type of gift. And with Jupiter in the trine to the North Node, the destiny point, and the full moon like that, Jupiter also brings gifts and blessings, wisdom, truth. There is some type of gift or blessing or like stroke of luck or something that is wrapped up in all of this somehow. Maybe we can't see it in the moment. Maybe we are not even going to be able to perceive it until we get a good distance into the future and some of this stuff starts to make a bit more sense. But with that Jupiterian trine as well, this is also faith, this is trust, this is belief. Pisces is the sign of the spirit world, a higher power, the power of the unseen and the invisible and the unknown. The North Node there with the Jupiter trine, this is ultimately about spiritual growth, a profound spiritual presence, perhaps intertwined or making itself known in our lives somehow. We are super being encouraged, you guys, to have and maintain faith and trust as we go through whatever this energy brings into our lives. We need to believe that these events and situations truly are gifts and blessings, maybe on their surface value, maybe very much in disguise, but we are being spiritually and karmically up-leveled with this somehow through the way that all of the pieces are going to be positioned for us once all of this, shifts and changes and lands. The position of the North Node, the point in the sky that is bringing us our eclipse right now, is 19 degrees of the sign of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is a master instructing his disciples. We also have Jupiter, as I've said, in that trine to the North Node, to the moon. This is about wisdom, this is about truth, and again, it's about faith and trust in a higher power. The power of prayer, the power, of miracles, and for the presence of the divine to be working in a beneficial, benefic way, the Jupiterian influence in our lives, the Santa Claus planet, Uranus at that Santa Claus degree, furtively filling stockings. Maybe this is going to be some type of delayed gratification, and we got to wait until the morning when we wake up to actually see what, the gifts in the stockings were, but this combo of cosmic events is actually destiny calling us and in a positive, benefic, or better direction. And that full moon now, okay, we can't answer that call if we are still being defined by some previous past patterns that have contributed to the way that we've been thinking, acting, and behaving, and essentially doing our life generally, being that this is the Virgo Pisces axis, South Node in Virgo right now. That is all about the day-to-day, the patterning, and the input that gets a certain output. We have to learn the lesson here, okay? We have to gain the wisdom in order to graduate, and that is also a good metaphor for what this particular energy is bringing to us on a collective level. Lots of people are going to feel very compelled to suddenly let go of something, change something, leave something in the past after we move through this weekend. And our cosmic guidance here, between the combination of what's going on Saturday, in combination with what's going on Sunday, surrender what has run its course, embrace change in whatever form that takes, trust and believe in the presence of a higher power, of a cosmic force for good in our lives that is helping us to discover or helping us to awaken to the truth of our potential, the truth of our purpose, our ability to change, our ability to grow. I do think that a major gift that is being indicated in the context of this energy also has to do with simply maybe an awakening or awareness that is dawning or that is growing within us and kind of redirecting the course of things for us at this time as well. But the eclipse and the full moon energy in the sign of Pisces, and we are about to start getting more into that particular dynamic, it is requiring some sacrifice. It is requiring this release or this let go process in order to really open to receive, I think, some of these gifts that are simultaneously indicated with that Jupiterian trine also. So now let's discuss in all the details the full moon eclipse, and to me why literally every single indication here is about a cycle ending, something having run its course, completion, closure, release, surrender, moving on, letting go, being done. There are 5 separate energetic elements to this chart that you guys can see that I put right up here that are repeating themes of the same pattern that are all building upon one another, and I think like furthering the cause of all the others. Now, the first that we're going to discuss is the fact that this is a full moon in Pisces itself. Pisces, of course, is the last and final sign of the zodiac. This sign has to do with where we merge from a physical state back into a union with the higher power, with the divine. It's about the merging of the tangible and the intangible, the physical and the immaterial, the visible and the visible. It's like the veil between the worlds. It's represented through Piscean energy. The moon and a full moon, this is a point of release. So when we've got a full moon, that is, it's a point of energetic and emotional release. The moon rules our emotions. And of course, Pisces is also a very watery, emotional, sensitive, feeling oriented sign. The combination of those two, any Pisces full moon is going to be a strong energetic indication of a process of emotional release, emotional cleansing, an outpouring or an overflow of emotional energy, an emotional purge that is going on. It can have to do with loss, it can have to do with surrender, it can have to do with endings, because we're talking about Pisces. This is the last sign and it represents those things. This is disconnecting from reality. This is letting things go. This is washing things away. This is completion, okay? We've come to the end. When we have a Pisces full moon going on, we have come to the end of some emotional cycle that we have been going through, and this is the time to let the excess spill out. So indication number 1, that this is a time of completion, emotional release and endings. Just the simple fact that we have a full moon in Pisces going on now. As that is our foundational energy, okay, let's build upon it. Now we introduce a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses are also a point of karmic release and karmic endings. This is the end of something. Something is being eclipsed, taken away, removed, voided out, discontinued, okay? And then add to it that this is also happening in the sign of Pisces, last sign of the zodiac. Lunar eclipse in Pisces, definitely indicating a point of emotional release. Something has come to the end, something has run its course, and this is when it's being eclipsed. This is when it's been being taken away. This is when it's been being ended. Number 3, and I haven't mentioned this much in the report for today, but this is, to me, also a pretty significant indicator about what's going on here and what this energy in this period of time really means and is about. Not only do we have a very karmic influence in reference to ending cycles that have been perpetuating for long periods of time because of their karmic nature, and this also happening in a faded way. This is a north node lunar eclipse. The destiny point is where the moon is. It's the north node, the destiny point, that is in the sign of Pisces. So again, like, this is a faded, meant to be like divinely orchestrated point of that release, that flow, that cleansing, that washout, that let go, that, you know, whatever it is of a like divinely intended nature when we're talking about the presence of the north node. And then we add to it that Saturn, the lord of karma and the lord of time, also a very, very karmic influence, ruling the past, ruling tradition, structure, order, form, control. Currently retrograde also, has just re-entered as a result of his retrograde process the sign of Pisces, the sign that all this is taking place in right now, and is at the very, very last degree of the actual entire zodiac while we've got this eclipse going on in the same sign that the eclipse is taking place. Saturn retrograde, last degree of the zodiac, same sign that the eclipse is in, final completion. Again, closing out an old cycle, the past being done, the end of an era, breaking down past structures, old ways, old rules, old systems of control and authority figures that maybe have been in control for long periods of time, stepping down, the transition from some type of established method or structure or way of doing and being to something new and different, the final countdown towards something, the end having been reached, something having been completed, the completion of some entire cycle of time or of karmic influence, because this is Saturn who rules over those things. So we've got two very karmic influences, the nodes of the moon and Saturn, both in the same energy, both, and Saturn at that very, very last degree, literally like just in time for this eclipse. Saturn just moved to that degree a couple of days ago, and now we have this eclipse coming through. So very telling. Again, another indicator that this is about the end of some Saturn, the established order of things, the structure that has been foundational to the Pisces, like the beliefs that have defined the reality. Like this is actually the type of thing that we're talking about, okay? But that's just 3. We've still got 2 left to go. Number 4, and this is something that I talked about previously a little bit in the context of the Uranian activity going on Saturday, but the ruler, as you guys know, the ruler and what the ruler is doing of any sign when any energetic activity going on is important and is relevant. Neptune is ruling the position of this full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune, I've told you guys, is also retrograde. Neptune is also the exact midpoint between Uranus in the sign of Gemini, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, in their perfect trine together right now, that are activating that energy that is shifting us into the future. Like that is a powerful force that is propelling us forward. Neptune being that midpoint, Neptune ruling Pisces, ruling the position of Saturn at 29 degrees retrograde, ruling the position of the North Node, ruling the position of the moon, and also in a conjunction to Saturn as well. Remember, Neptune and Saturn have been in a conjunction for several weeks now. They are still in a conjunction, although Saturn is back in the sign of Neptune. They are broken the conjunction by sign because Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces. But even that, like Neptune still rules that energy. So it's almost even more powerful in terms of the conjunction, since now Neptune is in charge of the position of Saturn at that very last degree of the zodiac. Anyways, I digress. What is the role of Neptune in consideration of the cosmic efforts of this full moon lunar eclipse moment of time chart that we've got going on? At that midpoint between that great awakening energy retrograding in the conjunction to Saturn at that very last degree, this is illusions of the past breaking down. This is false beliefs dissolving. This is ideals and fantasies and projections that have upheld or maintained some framework of previously established views and beliefs and concept of reality crumbling, being washed away, being dismantled. Neptune conjunct Saturn, Saturn in the sign of Pisces at 29 degrees, beliefs that have maintained the structure and order of our like lives and reality foundationally, historically, also breaking down, also falling apart, losing faith even maybe in authority or in rules or in the systems that had governed the past or represented some previous type of established like law and order or just structural framework of reality. Again, all of it, it's just building upon itself. Every single one of these is like a pinball machine popping the ball back to like another part with the same goal of getting to the same spot. Like, it's all working together to achieve essentially the same outcome. All of these transits boil down to the same basic indications. It's the end of an era. And also with Neptune ruling this energy in the sign of Aries, Aries is a sign of the self, okay? With Neptune being there, retrograde also, and like in the midst of all of this, there is some breakdown of the identity, of the self-perception, perhaps a disorientation in terms of our traditional self-concept going on, confusion maybe about like who we really are and what we really want and like what our true identity is, as a like side effect or as a even like driving component of a lot of these changes that are going on right now. So I think a lot of people could be really questioning themselves as we move through this period of time as well, questioning the life that they have established for themselves, question their like previously established goals and ideals and visions and what they always thought they wanted or thought they wanted to build or work towards or something like that. Like an identity crises could be going on quite a collective level, and that could also be leading to, of course, some very erratic, bizarre behavior, spontaneous, unexpected changes and endings to situations that had been established and set in place for long periods of time, as there's this like inner call to authenticity that is destiny calling that is becoming like more and more unavoidable, and people finally surrendering to the process and being like, you know what, like I can't keep up the facade, like I can't keep doing things this way, like this is, I'm realizing this entire life that I've built for myself is not based in reality, the reality of like who I'm coming to understand that I really am, and therefore I kind of am feeling the impulse to burn it all down and build something radically different that is much more reflective of this more authentic identity that is like emerging within me as the old shell or projection or narrative or image or whatever it is becoming harder and harder and harder to maintain and to feel aligned with. So like that is, I think, something that a large number of people in many different ways are going to be experiencing and dealing with as a result of the way that this energy is coming through. As the ruler of this energy is at the midpoint of Pluto and Uranus, it is crumbling the foundational ideologies as a component of some powerful awakening or conscious transformation or radical change that is taking place. This building into and contributing to endings and beginnings of the current moment, just to state it another way. So that's number 4, the position of Neptune, the role Neptune's playing right now, ruling the lunar eclipse energy. And lastly, you guys, we have Jupiter, something that I've been talking about all week. I've already talked about in this report for today. I'm going to talk about it again for a minute. That trine to the north node of the moon, trine to the full moon, sextile to the south node, sextile to the sun in opposition to the moon, bringing us our full moon. Jupiter is also the ancient ruler of the sign of Pisces. Jupiter was the original ruler of the sign of Pisces. Neptune is the modern ruler of the sign of Pisces. So again, we are examining the influence of the ruler of the sign when we're talking about this aspect here. And that trine is a very tight aspect. And Jupiter is this expansive force. Jupiter is faith, Jupiter is trust, Jupiter is hope, Jupiter is optimism, but it is also excess, it is also limitless, and that is another thing about this energy. There are some kind of red flags of this energy that I do want to bring up that we will get to in a minute, but I will tell you guys, and I've been talking about this all week, good Lord, like nothing is under control out there. There is a very limitless, boundless, uncontrollable energy that is kind of just like running wild, especially with this crazy Uranian vibe that is going on right now as well. It is very, very hard to limit things, to contain things, because the energy that limits and contains is what? Saturn. And where is Saturn? At 29 degrees of the sign of Pisces, retrograde. doing nothing to contain or limit anything, like barely able to even hold himself within his ring that he exists within. Okay, like Saturn is not playing the role of regulating emotions when we've got him retrograde at the very last degree of this emotional Piscean energy, where the moon ruling our emotions is. And then when we add the trine to Jupiter, who's in the sign of Cancer? Jupiter's also in the sign of Cancer. What planet rules Cancer, you guys? Oh, that's right. Cancer's ruled by the moon. And I've been saying also, as Jupiter transits the sign of Cancer, whatever the moon is doing is likely to be a bit bigger and a bit more emotional than it is under other circumstances, because Jupiter is in the sign ruled by the moon. This is expanding whatever's going on with the moon. And when we put an exact trine in there as well, okay, trines are a free flow of energy. This is like a cosmic facilitation. This is like no interference whatsoever with the impact of the Jupiterian energy on the moon, on that emotional energy. And Jupiter's already in the sign of Cancer, supersizing that energy. People are gonna have a hard time holding it together, holding it in, containing themselves. Outpourings of feelings, outpourings of emotions. Now, this could be compassion, it could be empathy, it could be creative inspiration, it could be spiritual wisdom or guidance or advice. Like, it could be very positive in the nature of the outpourings that are going on. Or it could be extremely uncontrolled emotional responses, extremely overblown and over the top feelings and reactions to things. It could be extreme escapism, extreme avoidance, extreme tendency to excess in the context of drugs and alcohol and other ways of escaping reality. Okay, and again, like, those are some of the red flags. We're gonna get to that in a minute. But with the Jupiterian emphasis going on there as well, this is also limitless, like, or an enhanced ability to do everything that this moon is like attempting to do for us energetically, amplifying the fated karmic nature of the endings and beginnings that are coming into play right now, assisting and facilitating our ability to let go, move on, feel spiritually supported, maybe see the bigger picture, get a greater sense maybe of purpose or knowing or understanding about what's all going on, what's playing out, the changes and transitions that are underway right now. It's enhancing also the urge maybe to embrace the future, release the past, everything that this full moon lunar eclipse is indicating for us, that Jupiterian energy is exacerbating, is enhancing, is making more prominent, highlighting, making more notable. And of course, there are many, many different ways that this energy could be affecting our lives, manifesting in the world around us, but it's probably going to be quite notable, quite noticeable, make a big impact with the emphasis of that Jupiter energy, like pressing on everything as well. And again, things could feel out of control, and there could be a lot of very big emotional responses, emotional releases, and also, again, like the spiritual presence that maybe we are feeling very deeply or very profoundly or very strongly to be involved in, you know, how a lot of this stuff is playing out. So all of that having been discussed, I would say that if you've been waiting on the right moment to make some type of life change, really like the bigger the better with the Jupiterian influence going on right there, this is a really good time to do it. This is also, again, about what has maybe been hidden or been lost or been unknown or been missing somehow. Virgo in the South Node, patterns, things that we've missed, or just like patterns that have been operating in the background of our mind a collective release of unconscious patterning that has determined certain outcomes. Change the input, change the output. This is literally like a programming software update that is happening on an electromagnetic frequency-based level within the psyche of the collective of humanity going on right now. We may or may not be aware of the significance, though, of these changes that are taking place, because it's happening in the sign of Pisces, which is what's going on in the background. Like, this is what's hidden, this is what's unconscious, this is what is unknown. But also with Neptune ruling that energy right the midpoint in between Uranus and Pluto, it is another indication of like some type of subconscious programming update that is going on, whether we have an awareness of it or not. But I do think a part of the process of this like update, or whatever you want to call it, is this sense of awakening or awareness that we are gaining, maybe in a subtle way, maybe in a like epiphany, like a strike, a bolt of lightning out of nowhere, just like wake you up completely type of way. But I do think most people are going to gain some enhanced awareness about something being revealed to them, or an unconscious or just like maybe like inner unexplainable urge to make some type of changes. Remember, Pisces, this is also a very intuitive sign. A lot of people are going to be having intuitive urges and intuitive experiences that they're not even perceiving as that are causing them to want to make these changes. And remember, as I said, on Saturday, that moon in Pisces squaring Uranus as he stations in the sign of Gemini. It's like this feeling that is coming up that is creating such a sense of irritation or discomfort or internalized frustration or something, inner conflict with that square, that we just have this like impulsive, like almost like inner itch to make a change, do something different, figure out how to like alleviate that feeling, which does crave newness, which does crave novelty, which does crave excitement, and wants to change and wants to do things different. It's very like funny, because Pisces, right? Like, this is the dream. This is the 12th house. This is the last sign of the zodiac. This is sleep. Uranus is the great awakener. It's like the alarm clock goes off, and then whatever, and Neptune is retrograding in Aries, exactly aspecting Uranus. It's waking up from a dream. It's like snapping out of a trance or hypnosis or something. This is like breaking some spell that we didn't know that we were under, but now we do, and it's a whole new day, and it's a whole new reality, and something's definitely got to change as a result. That's the vibe, you guys. So Pisces rules the hidden, the repressed, the lost, the forgotten, memories and emotions that have translated, knowingly or unknowingly, into unconscious patterns of thought and behavior that have been running their course, have completed that course, and are now being released. That's what it means to me. Okay, that's what I got. The input is changing, so the output is changing. Uranus stationing retrograde the day before a full moon lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Pisces that is exactly trine by Jupiter, while Saturn is at 29 degrees retrograde of Pisces, and Neptune is the exact midpoint between Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in the sign of Gemini. And that's 111 too. And 111 to me is an energetic indication of like a creative new beginning that is underway. A sense of magic or mysticism could be in the air as we move through this weekend. That Jupiter energy right there, lending a very highly prominent and pronounced spiritual quality to all of this. As I said earlier, it does represent gifts, it does represent blessings, it does represent growth through spiritual connection, the presence of the divine in our lives, seeking spiritual growth, seeking higher understanding, seeking spiritual wisdom or guidance or truth or connection. This is an important part of the way this cosmic blueprint is functioning at this time as well. The power of prayer, faith, trust, and belief should not be understated, despite whatever struggles we may simultaneously be navigating as we move through this point of endings and release and sacrifice as well. Jupiter's in the sign of Cancer, okay? The faith can bring a lot of support and a lot of comfort that we need, or that we may need, to help offset some of this more like erratic, crazy stuff that's going on, and also these fated endings that are indicated. Divine inspiration and elevated artistic expression are also very emphasized in the energy field right now. If you are personally artistically oriented, I would get on it. This is a very inspired energy for creation. Visionary, magical, whimsical, mystical, otherworldly, haunting. These would be how art of any kind created in energy like this is likely to be described. We're emphasizing this point as well because actually the position of the moon for the full moon in Pisces that comes in 16 degrees of the sign of Pisces in terms of the symbolic degree placement, that Sabian symbol is in the quiet of his study. A creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration. This symbol could have been created specifically for this particular energetic moment when we have this Pisces full moon lunar eclipse coming in. So very, very relevant. There could be a profoundly creative, divinely inspired, artistic energy translating into really, again, these like otherworldly works that, I don't know, could be a result of some type of gift that is emphasized in someone in this energy right now as well. So if that's your thing, use this weekend for that. People, as I mentioned earlier, could also be really revealing or exposing themselves, things about themselves, their deeper nature, deeper truths. This budding authenticity that we can no longer hide from, can't maintain the fantasy, can't maintain the facade, can't continue to uphold the image or the illusion or the reputation or the projection, or continue to control the narrative for one reason or another. Distortions in presentation, distortions in projection, distortions in representation, distortions in perception. These are breaking down with Neptune as the midpoint, retrograde in Aries, conjunct Saturn in Pisces at the very last degree while we have this going on. So that's another component of things here. Another final notes. These are the more kind of like red flag associations of this energy. Lowered physical health and vitality levels can be a thing when we've got such a strong Piscean influence right now. Although, if you guys remember, I did mention earlier a Jupiter-Mars square that's going on. That kind of has a counteracting effect. That does sometimes bring like a burst of energy and make us feel motivated and make us feel energized. So that could be offsetting the draining nature of a Pisces full moon and Pisces eclipse and all that we've got going on. But still, you could be feeling a little bit extra tired, needing extra rest, wanting more sleep, drowsy, zoned out, daydreaming, like caught in some type of fantasy or ideal about something, nostalgic, reminiscing about the past, maybe just like checked out of reality or the current moment somehow. Get extra rest if you need it. Do not burn yourself out. Make sure that you are, again, like Jupiter square Mars, using your energy wisely. Take extra care of and prioritize your health all month, really, with this type of eclipse energy going on the Pisces Virgo axis. That is an axis that already deals with like our health and our well-being and our vitality and stuff like that. So all month I say that, you know, put a little bit of extra focus on prioritizing your health and make changes to your lifestyle to promote your health and well-being. A lot of people are going to be doing that as well. That will be a side effect of this eclipse season, is people upgrading their routines in association with their own well-being, changing the input, changing the output, deciding to take a more healthy approach to life, and therefore the whole life changing to accommodate the healthier version of the individual that is deciding to make these changes. Also, lower octaves of this energy coming through, and just the way that it's going to be manifesting in some people's lives or experiences based on, you know, personal transits in their charts, could bring on with all of this Pisces, you guys, all of this release, all of this endings, acute feelings of depression, anxiety, hopelessness, escapism, avoidance, seeking an end, seeking an exit to seemingly endless victimhood or suffering, disassociation, victimization, martyrdom, delusions. These can be strong shadows of Piscean energy, especially with the moon there also, and it being such a powerful lunar influence, and the Jupiter trine. This is expanding however it is that we're feeling. So if we're feeling good, if we're feeling positive, if we're feeling spiritually connected, if we're feeling future focused, if we're feeling like we're ready to move on from things, the Jupiter energy is going to enhance that. If we are feeling emotionally overwhelmed, if we are feeling anxious, if we are feeling unstable, if we are feeling insecure, if we are feeling lost, if we're feeling confused, if we're feeling dissociated or detached or forgotten or left behind or abandoned or victimized, that is also going to be amplified by this Jupiterian energy. And it's all this water sign energy, right? So it's how we are feeling. Pisces is also the sign that rules drugs and alcohol. It's possible that, you know, escapism, specifically maybe through drugs, alcohol, or choosing to like literally exit the earth plane, probably much more likely as we have energy coming through like this. Okay, so with the emotional overflow here, literal spikes maybe in drug or alcohol overdoses or issues related to such things. If you know people that struggle with depression or substances or mental health issues as well, that's another thing I'm not sure that I have mentioned or spoken about enough so far in this report. Virgo and Pisces is also an axis that has a lot to do with our mental health. People could be losing it, coming unglued, totally spazzing out of control, detached from the reality, losing their disorientation in reality, not knowing what's up and what's down, not knowing if they're coming or going, and really looking for an out. Drugs and alcohol issues, I think we're gonna see probably more of while we move through this period of time. So again, like, be mindful of that. Maybe keep an eye on people that you know have issues with stuff along those lines. People also may feel like very spontaneously or impulsively motivated to just like up and leave, like quit things. That's another way on like the lower octave unconscious levels that this energy, especially with the Uranian influence the day before as well, like people just being like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, like feeling overly oppressed or constricted or boxed in or something, and just rebelling, just being, you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, just totally deciding to like quit on the spot and be done with something. Mars square Jupiter, not really thinking it through, just taking some type of action to feel free. Okay, because there's a huge drive towards freedom here, and the need to feel free, and the need to be able to like feel more like authentic or less controlled, like literally within our own skin. So crazy behavior going on out there. Very, very, very unpredictable energetic blueprint that we've got going on right now. Another thing that I want to note before I forget to say it, you know, Saturn at that 29th degree. Saturn rules authority figures. Again, like this is the government. This is leadership. This is the boss. This is management. This is the delegation and the control systems and like who's in charge and their rules and the established order and how they structured things. At that last degree retrograde, wouldn't be surprised if like the boss is retiring retiring, or people in leadership or authority roles are stepping down somehow, change of guard, passing the baton, being let go even, or with the way that this energy is exposing secrets, it could also be like public falls from grace, losing titles or positions, an old order structure or some like patriarch or authority figure or leader like literally finding its demise, or actually even like passing on maybe somehow. The order and the control and the rules to the game are systemically changing here with this, and it is coming from the top down with Saturn at that very last degree of the sign of Pisces as well. Lastly, you guys, Neptune ruling the moon is at, as I told you, 1 degree of the sign of Aries right now. Sabian symbol, 2 degrees of the sign of Aries. That Sabian symbol is one that you have heard often over the past couple of months if you've been following my channel. A comedian entertaining the group. I find a comedic level of relevance in the placement and activation of this particular symbolic degree via Neptune ruling all of this, when we've got the simultaneous like ending and beginning and the end of the era and the emergence of this radical new way being spoken about through this energy window we're moving through right here right now. A comedian entertaining the group. Comedians, the comedic approach could somehow be involved in what's going on here, but it's just funny to me because historically, like, the comedian, you know, the jester is the only one that's ever really been able to tell the truth. And that's what all of this is about at the end of the day, even down to the fact that Jupiter, the planet ruling truth, is in trine, and Neptune is exactly in the trine or in the aspect to Uranus, which is about awakening to some type of authentic greater understanding and stationing the day before, and in the trine to Pluto. The truth really is where the power is, and the exposure of truth is what is driving destiny here. So things that are not aligned with truth are going to come to an end. This is the death of the facade. We are entering the age of authenticity and essentially microcosm, macrocosm, from the top down. Anything that is a false representation for whatever reason of what it's meant to be is likely to be undergoing systemic changes. This is going to come in terms specifically of the thought and belief patterns that have generated specific results. The input is changing, therefore the output is changing, and this is the point in time that requires the release from that past input so that this new update essentially can occur and we can get a different output moving and going forward. Because of course you guys know we are moving through a shift of ages right now, and it wouldn't be a shift of ages without the need for fundamental, sweeping, systemic change rippling through all of universe, time and space, and boiling down to whatever we've got going on in our lives and experiences this weekend. So that's it, you guys. That's what I kind of personally think about all of this energy, astrology that we've got going on this weekend. I am going to get now one final piece of advice. I'm going to shuffle out a synchronicity card. This is a message from God, Great Spirit, Universe, whatever your perception of a higher power in this reality is. That's where this guidance is coming from. And you're not going to believe it, you guys. We actually got 2 cards for today. I couldn't have like gone through this whole deck and like chosen with my eyes and my mind 2 cards that would have been like more energetically aligned with this eclipse full moon that we've got going on right now. Look at what our cards are. We're talking about a Pisces full moon, right? Lunar eclipse. We have dream and, drum roll, forget the past. So like actually the specific themes of our Pisces full moon are our synchronicity messages as well. Dream. And shout for joy, all ye who are upright in heart. Psalms 32:11. Your biggest joy will be in the knowledge that you have overcome setbacks and disappointments. Be persistent, believe in your dreams, and continue going forward. God does not give us a dream without also giving us the means to attain that dream. Jupiter conjunct the North Node. The vision is alive, you guys. Believe in your dreams. Have faith in the unfolding process. And then our other card says, forget the past. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. South Node in the sign of Virgo. Changing the input, changing the output. Romans 12:2. Give up your worldly beliefs and learn the truths of life. Feed your subconscious mind with life-giving patterns. Accept the positive aspects of God and let go of all the negativity. Forget the past, get on with the future. In this way, your spirit will gradually grow and you will reach your goal. So, growth, blessings, gifts, you guys, come through our ability to surrender to the process of release right now while maintaining hope, faith, trust in the vision, in the potential, in the benefic nature of God's presence in our lives and the positive trajectory that all of this activity is ultimately orienting us towards. So that's my 2 cents. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. I would love to have them narrate the shift of the ages with us. Leave me comments, you guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you're having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, this video or any other video. That's really valuable information to me. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for your presence on my channel. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook page where I post images of those boards linked in my description box below. If you want to see those images, click the description box, click the link, it will take you to that Facebook group. And that is it for me today. That's all I have to say. I will be back on Monday, you guys, with a whole bunch of more astrology info. This is what is happening for our weekend, okay? Saturday and Sunday are coming through with all of this barrage of activity. I feel like it's probably going to be another very interesting and unusual and maybe quite change-oriented and transitional week, and I will be back to talk all about it. So you don't want to miss it. I will see you on Monday, you guys. Have a beautiful weekend. Have a beautiful full moon lunar eclipse. And until next time, bye guys.